Men don't get knocked out, or I mean they can fight back against big things. What kills them is erosion. They get nudged into failure. They get slowly scared. I'm scared. Sometimes a man seems to reverse himself, so you would say he can't do that. It's out of character. Maybe it's not. It could just be another angle, or it might be that the pressures above or below have changed his shape. You see it in War a lot, a coward turning a hero and a brave man crashing in flames. Like most modern people, I don't believe in prophecy or magic and then spend half my time practicing it. A man who tells secrets or stories must think of who is hearing or reading, for a story has as many versions as it has readers. Everyone takes what he wants or can from it and thus changes it to his measure. Some pick out parts and reject the rest, some strain the story through their mesh of prejudice, some paint it with their own delight. Any man of reasonable intelligence can make money if that's what he wants. Mostly it's women or clothes or admiration he really wants, and they deflect him. We can shoot rockets into space, but we can't cure anger or discontent. I know 3 things will never be believed: the true, the probable, and the logical. I shall revenge myself in the cruelest way you can imagine. I shall forget it. Misfortune is a fact of nature acceptable to women, especially when it falls on other women. Only God sees the sparrow fall, but even God doesn't do anything about it. In poverty she is envious. In riches she may be a snob. Money does not change the sickness, only the symptoms. So many old and lovely things are stored in the world's attic because we don't want them around us and we don't dare throw them out. Failure is a state of mind. It's like one of those sand traps an antlion digs. You keep sliding back. Takes one hell of a jump to get out of it. You know how advice is. You only want it if it agrees with what you wanted to do anyway. When 2 people meet, each one is changed by the other, so you've got 2 new people. Maybe that means, hell, it's complicated. For the most part, people are not curious except about themselves. She seemed to know, to accept, to welcome her position, the citadel of the family, the strong place that could not be taken. And since Tom and the children could not know hurt or fear unless she acknowledged hurt and fear, she has practiced denying them in herself. Death was a friend, and sleep was death's brother. How can we live without our lives? How will we know it's us without our past? It is not good to want a thing too much. It sometimes drives the luck away. You must want it just enough. But now, by saying what his future was going to be like, he had created it. A plan is a real thing, and things projected are experienced. A plan once made and visualized becomes a reality along with other realities, never to be destroyed but easily to be attacked. But I have a new love for that glittering instrument, the human soul. It is a lovely and unique thing in the universe. It takes great courage to back truth unacceptable to our times. People like you to be something, preferably what they are. Perhaps the less we have, the more we are required to brag. I believe a strong woman may be stronger than a man, particularly if she happens to have love in her heart. I guess a loving woman is indestructible. For it is said that humans are never satisfied, that you give them one thing and they want something more. And this is said in disparagement, whereas it is one of the greatest talents the species has and one that has made it superior to animals that are satisfied with what they have. Pia head they thousan lives we might live, but when it comes it'll only be one. There ain't no sin and there ain't no virtue. There's just stuff people do. Our people are good people, our people are kind people. Pray God someday kind people won't all be poor. A large drop of sun lingered on the horizon and then dripped over and was gone, and the sky was brilliant over the spot where it had gone, and a torn cloud, like a bloody rag, hung over the spot of its going. And dusk crept over the sky from the eastern horizon, and darkness crept over the land from the east. If he needs 1,000,000 acres to make him feel rich, seems to me he needs it 'cause he feels awful poor inside hisself, and if he's poor in hisself, there ain't no 1,000,000 acres gonna make him feel rich, and maybe he's disappointed that nothin' he can do make him feel rich. The clouds appeared and went away, and in a while they did not try any more. George said wonderingly, "Suppose there was a carnival or a circus come to town or a ball game. We'd just go to her. We wouldn't ask nobody if we could. Just say, we'll go to her, and we would. Just milk the cow and sling some grain to the chickens and go to her. And it'd be our own, and nobody could can us. And if a friend come along, why we'd have an extra bunk, and we'd say, why don't you spend the night, and he would. But you just tell and try to get this guy canned and we'll tell everybody, and then will you get the laugh? For 2 bits I'd shove out of here. If we can get just a few dollars in the poke we'll shove off and go up the American River and pan gold. We can make maybe a couple of dollars a day there, and we might hit a pocket. Okay, said George. And you ain't gonna do no bad things like you done in weed, neither. Lenny looked puzzled. Like I done in weed? Oh, so you forgot that too, did ya? Well, I ain't gonna remind ya, fear you do it again. A light of understanding broke on Lenny's face. They run us out of weed, he exploded triumphantly. Run us out, hell, said George disgustedly. We run. They was looking for us, but they didn't catch us. Lenny giggled happily. I didn't forget that, you bet. Lenny, if you just happen to get in trouble like you always done before, I want you to come right here and hide in the brush. Hide in the brush till I come for you. It ain't so funny, him and me going around together, George said at last. Him and me was both born in Auburn. I knowed his Aunt Clara. She took him when he was a baby and raised him up. When his Aunt Clara died, Lenny just come along with me out workin'. Got kinda used to each other after a little while. I'm scared of stuff so nice. I ain't got faith. I'm scared something ain't so nice about it. Her hazel eyes seemed to have experienced all possible tragedy and to have mounted pain and suffering like steps into a high calm and a superhuman understanding. She seemed to know, to accept, to welcome her position, the citadel of the family, the strong place that could not be taken. And since, when a joyful thing happened, they looked to see whether joy was on her, it was her habit to build up laughter out of inadequate materials. But better than joy was calm. Imperturbability could be depended upon. And from her great and humble position in the family she had taken dignity and a clean calm beauty. From her position as healer, her hands had grown sure and cool and quiet. From her position as arbiter she had become as remote and faultless in judgment as a goddess. She seemed to know that if she swayed the family shook, and if she ever really deeply wavered or despaired the family would fall, the family will to function would be gone. There's more beauty in truth, even if it is dreadful beauty. She seemed to know that if she swayed the family shook, and if she ever really deeply wavered or despaired the family would fall, the family will to function would be gone. The last clear definite function of man, muscles aching to work, minds aching to create. And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. A man, after he has brushed off the dust and chips of his life, will have left only the hard, clean questions. Was it good or was it evil? Have I done well or ill? Man, unlike any other thing organic or inorganic in the universe, grows beyond his work, walks up the stairs of his concepts, and emerges ahead of his accomplishments. If you're in trouble or hurt or need go to poor people, they're the only ones that'll help, the only ones. I got you to look after me, and you got me to look after you, and that's why. As happens sometimes, a moment settled and hovered and remained for much more than a moment. And sound stopped and movement stopped for much, much more than a moment. Guy don't need no sense to be a nice fella. Seems to me sometimes it just works the other way around. Take a real smart guy and he ain't hardly ever a nice fella. His ear heard more than was said to him, and his slow speech had overtones not of thought, but of understanding beyond thought. Try to understand men. If you understand each other you will be kind to each other. Knowing a man well never leads to hate and nearly always leads to love. It ain't no lie. We're gonna do it. Gonna get a little place and live on the fat of the lawn. You never ought to drink water when it ain't running. They fell into a silence. They looked at one another amazed. This thing they had never really believed in was coming true. A guy sets alone out here at night, maybe readin' books or thinkin' or stuff like that.